Recording in progress.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to our City Council meeting for December 5th. I know this agenda has a lot of items that many of you are likely passionate about, so great to have you all here and civically engaged this evening. A couple of announcements before we start with our public comment. We still have staff members joining virtually as well as people from our community who'd like to speak. So I continue to sort of navigate back and forth between my computer and who's here in the audience, so just give me a little grace as I toggle back and forth. And we do take breaks every 90 to 120 minutes between items. With that, we will begin our with open comment period. So this is an opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to speak on an item that we will not be having a public hearing on later in the agenda. So many people have signed up for a specific item on the public hearing agenda tonight. So those of you who would like to speak on an issue that's not one of those items, have the opportunity to speak for up to 4 minutes, and then we allow for a total of up to 20 minutes for comment. So because it is a time-limited opportunity, we want to make sure you keep your comments moving along, be as concise as possible. Your comments are directed at me as Council President. If you have any handouts, please give them to our clerk. She's sitting over here, Clerk Kiesler, and she will distribute them around to the council. We welcome comments on whatever issues you'd like to comment on related to city, what concerns you around city policy, but we do expect that you deliver them and participate respectfully in our council chambers. I will be starting with those who have signed up in person, and then I will be going back and forth and doing those with their hand raised online. So with that, I would invite Dave Reichert. Please introduce yourself, and we'll be keeping track of time in a couple different ways. So we have a stoplight system here and a timer up on the wall, and just know that I will cut you off if you're in social time. Go ahead.
Council President Carlson, council members, thank you for wanting to speak. I'm Dave Reichert, and I'm on the City Energy Commission. So informational, heads up. Be aware of things that are going on. First, I want to thank you all for passing the updated greenhouse gas reduction goals earlier this year. It puts us in line with the international goal. As you know, that's a large task. We really got to do emission reductions in 3 main areas. First would be electricity production, which fortunately for us, our few has well in hand. Their 2030 plan sets us on great progress. So that's a relatively easy one for Rochester. Next one's transportation, the cars and the trucks that are out on the road. That's a much more difficult one because everybody's homes well, right? It's not easily controlled. The best Rochester can do, we think, and the commission is we encourage those who we can't afford rebates and such. So we're not going to buy cars and trucks for people, but making EV chargers available is an important thing to do. So any place we can do that, that's great. Third area is very hard. Buildings and processes, things that take place inside a building. So this could be your house, could be the local dry cleaner, right? All those things that take place in the buildings. The buildings are heated, cooled, and some of the processes use heat. So those are emission sources. And that's the area where the city government has probably the most leverage because those things are located here. They aren't maybe in Detroit or Japan or someplace. They're brought here. That stuff that's going on right here. And then a lot of the people that own those places or live in them as renters or homeowners are voters in our community, people in the room, right? So that's really what I want to pay attention to tonight. Good news is the federal government's brought out a lot of legislation that can help us with this. The Infrastructure Act and now the Inflation Reduction Act both contain monies aimed at climate change preparation. And it comes out in a multitude of ways. Of course, it's pretty confusing. I'm sure you all see mailings on this and pie charts with, this area is this much and it's this kind of money. So it's confusing, but it's out there. And what we need to do, I believe, what the commission believes, is we need to optimize our benefits process. So we need to really study this and make sure that we make use of what is available. Now, city government can do that for itself, right? You can have electric vehicles in city government. But what we really need to pay attention to are those small consumers that I talked about before. It's a large opportunity to improve the efficiency of our homes and then move against those greenhouse gas emissions that we've got targets for. So what we're contemplating, the Energy Commission, and which staff is working on, is to first have a campaign that increases the awareness of the issues, and then most importantly, increase the knowledge of what's possible and what funding might be applicable. And that's, I'm thinking like school bonding referendum. You really got to get people's attention on this, because there's money in there to be had, and we should make sure we use our share. So once you've got people's awareness and some knowledge out there, then you have to match all the funding sources. On the back of the handout that I gave out is one website. I'm not plugging these people, but Rewire America is a nice website that says, if you have this income and you live in this zip code, here's the things that might be available to you. It's a long list. And when you learn more about this, it's even longer list. So there's a lot of education that's needed. And then ultimately, we need to connect the community to suppliers. The suppliers also are going to need some education. They need to be prepped for all this. So that's what we're looking for. We're trying to move the community forward by making the awareness rise, bringing the technical knowledge to it, and applying the funding as best we can. That's it. City staff says they'll come forward in January, February, with a study session and bring more news about this. Thank you much.
All right, is there anyone joining virtually that would like to speak? You use the raise hand function or press *9. Again, the raise hand function or press *9. Seeing no one, we'll move on to Casey McGregor. Please introduce yourself and your phone.
Good evening, Council. Casey McGregor. Today I'm going to talk about money, taxes, and I'm going to give you a little job performance review. You all know that voters are your bosses, not the city. You sit in those chairs because people went to a voting booth, filled out that little bubble next to your name. Do you know how in awe that is, that people value it enough to give you their voice, to stamp approval for you, to stand up and work for them? Do you know how amazing that is? Have you forgotten that? We're approaching the end of 2022, and heading into the new year, voters would like to see a few changes from this council. Change number 1, stop giving the power to the city administrator. This is not what the voters want. The voters have the power, we voted you to have the power as a collective council. The voters do not get a say in the city administrator. The voters get no say in that job performance. It is the city council's job, it is not the city council's job to give away the power of this council. Number 2, I disagree with Mr. Spindler Craig. At the end of last council, he praised the council for not pulling items. As a voter, I think this is horrible advice. This is your job to pull items and discuss it here on council floor. You work for the voter, not the city. How as a voter, do I get more information if you don't have that discussion here? Have you ever looked at the city and said, well, maybe you should write smaller agendas? Maybe 1,000-page packets aren't a good idea? Maybe it's the city's fault, not the council's fault. Number 3, I look at the job of a councilman as the voice between voters and the city. Sometimes the city should win, sometimes the voters should win. And I'm not seeing any wins for the voters. I'm seeing us spending more. Does the council ever say no to the city? Do you ever just tell them to go pound sand? Every dollar this council spends comes from somebody working for it. You realize you're not playing with monopoly money, right? This money comes off of our bodies. Every tax dollar I send in, I poured my body work into that dollar. As I age, this money is getting harder to work for, physically, becoming more challenging. I would like to see my money respected better. Number 4, examples of money being mishandled are in today's agenda, F9, F14, and F16. What do you think the voters want? Do you think the voters want to spend this? Why would you approve a no limit? This is wasteful and disgusting. Number 5, you realize there are only 2 types of people that stand here at this microphone. One is your voter, and the second person is a salesman, and they're always trying to sell you their idea. I think you have to be careful with what they're selling. Number 6, DMC and DMC money comes from the voters and the taxpayers. Mr. Steve stood here before council and approving his budget and told you he has a key and you have a key, and you unlock that money together. Then he said it's not his job to host the town hall for the voters, it's yours. And you didn't host a town hall. You blindly approved the budget without hearing from your voters. You stole their voices in that moment, and that can never happen again. One example of wasted money, climate accommodating structures. The gentleman that stood here, I don't remember his name, said, they don't heat, they don't cool. They don't heat, they don't cool. They're 2 giant built-in umbrellas for $1.4 million. What voter wanted to spend that kind of money on 2 giant built-in umbrellas? Art is another thing. Art should be donated or
20
fundraised
seconds
for.
left.
It is a subject where, sorry, my voice is trying to art should be fundraised for. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone joining virtually who would like to speak? Use the raise hand function or press star 9. Seeing no one, we'll move on to Bruce Strew.
I'm gonna wait till G3.
Okay. John Kriesel, come on up.
I'll do the same. I'll speak at the hearings.
Okay.
Thank you. Give my time to somebody else.
Okay, you are signed up for the, all right, I'll make sure you're all signed up. Gail Madison.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me on.
Mazel tov.
Can you hear me okay? Thanks. I just want to mention that I did leave a message a couple of times to my city council member who has not returned my calls. I know I can be confrontational and not Minnesota nice. I come from Los Angeles and sometimes just get tired of a little bit of the woke mentality and the crime that I'm seeing increased here, which is what I want to discuss with my council member. So really 2 points that I wanted to make tonight. One is the crime, and the other is about government surveillance of the citizens here. When I talk about the crime, I wanted to piggyback a little bit the last time I spoke up here regarding my experience at the whatever Planned Parenthood fundraiser thing or whatever it was, where I was pushed around and shoved around and then even asked C.E.R.T. This is the topic that I really want to drive into is, who is C.E.R.T? Community Engagement Response Team. Co-opting the FEMA name, Community Emergency Response Team. How many are there? How are they paid? What is their training? Do they take an oath to the sheriff or to uphold the Constitution? When I was pushed around, which was assault, I asked C.E.R.T, the person that was doing it, law enforcement was looking for her. I asked them, I said, could you please get her name? They said, no, we don't have the authority to do so. Which begs the question, what authority do they have? How are they bonded? What is the liability that our community faces when something goes wrong? Just like a quasi-military police force? Isn't this global vigilante? It just begs the questions of a lot of legalities behind it and who they are and why should I? Many of them very nice to speak to. Some of them I spoke to, they were very cordial. But at my understanding, it's questionable some of their backgrounds and what is my obligation as a citizen to respond to direction from them. I don't think that they're really trained as police officers. They're pseudo-police officers. Or now they under the jurisdiction of RTD. Do they manage them? The next thing I want to talk about is I have handouts tied to it is Rochester government surveillance on common residents. We have a group called Zen City, and I sent in FOIA requests trying to find out what sort of data they're pulling on us as citizens. Was it social media? What do you have on me? Conveniently, could get nothing back, no feedback. It's disturbing to me that my Fourth Amendment and everybody else, this spans all across conservative, liberal, whatever. Everybody as Americans should be concerned about our government surveilling us, and we pay for that. I have a handout of the signature that Kim Norton signed on November 10th, 2021, that we paid $24,000 for Zen City to surveil us. What did we gain out of that? And when I talk about cut back crime, what kind of crime did it cut back? Because in my neighborhood, which I wanted to talk to my city council member who does not return my phone calls, is that we just had 6 blocks away from my house, someone kicked in the door of a home and stole money, and who knows what it would have been like had that person been at home. So yes, I was voicing concerns about the crime. But back to the Zen City, I had another handout with emails between Michael Spindler Craig and others, and one of them says someone likely believes law enforcement is actively tracking her on social media. She might be right, but not sure there's anything improper, and it doesn't have anything to do with poll pullers in the city. I'm not sure what tool RPD may use regarding social media tracking or anything. So if our legal counsel doesn't know what's tracking, then who does? And how come I can't get a FOIA request answered on what was pulled on us as our common citizen? This should be concern for everybody and all Americans in this room. Thank you.
Is there anybody joining virtually who would like to speak? You use the raise hand function or press *9. All right. Bryce Borchardt?
I'll pass.
Okay. Joe Christensen?
Good evening, President, board members. Joe Christensen, born and raised in Rochester, Minnesota. I'm not happy with the changes that are going on in my hometown. I'm largely here to talk about G3, which is the 6.85% property tax increase.
But we'll hold on that, which you signed up for later.
Okay, all right. But optics are important, and maybe sometimes people can't connect the dots between increased spending. Maybe it's coming from capital improvement projects, whether it's the improvements downtown or the North Broadway Transportation Corridor. And so I guess from my perspective, I'm just not seeing a concerted effort in order to get the budget in balance. You know, maybe the property taxes, I'll address that later, but that's probably the main thing. We got a lot of other new properties that are popping up all over the places, bringing in a lot of revenue. You should actually see property taxes go down if all of these new buildings, residential properties are bringing in revenue. Thank you.
We'll see you later in the meeting. All right, is there anyone else who did not sign up who would like to speak? All right, seeing no one, final call. We will close open comment and officially call the meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.